Alrighty. Hopefully now we're live. Hopefully the connection is not complete potato like it has been. I've replaced the router. That's one of the reasons why I haven't broadcast in quite some time. So today I wanted to hit on a couple of things. I'm working on a couple of different video topics right now, and I'm not going to be doing a ton of live streams until later in the month. I do have a guest coming onto the channel that I'm very excited about. And there's another topic that I'd like to bring some people onto the channel to talk about with. And then eventually I'd like to reach out and maybe even have at least a weekly guest on the channel for some of these live streams. I definitely prefer the more conversational format than me just extemporaneously going off the top of my head and then going down some notes, things like that. So today, in preparation for everything that's going on in Europe, if you are in Europe, if you have family in Europe, shaking them awake might be a little rough because you're going to keep seeing what we saw with the Ukrainian government. And they're going to keep telling everyone that everything is completely fine. And I don't want to rehash this too much. That's one of the other reasons I haven't been making too many live streams, is because simply there are not a lot of updates right now. Hey, Constitutional Carpenter. So there's not really a lot to go off of. As I've previously mentioned, a lot of the content that has been produced out of the region, outside of a couple of embedded journalists, there's really nothing new to report on. So what we are going to talk about today, though, is the importance of preparation for the likelihood of more incursions. And I'm only going to touch lightly on this because I will make some more specialized videos on this topic. But right now, I'm going to tell you that if you don't have tactical gear of any kind, you should probably go ahead and begin looking into that. Now, you don't have to completely break the bank on this. You can absolutely go surplus. There's plenty of stuff that people are offloading from their military service or playing airsoft games or things like that. So you can get into some really high-end gear for not a lot of money. However, I would stress that you don't just go new and buy Condor. It would be better to go used and buy some higher-end gear. Tactical Tailor would be a good one. Cry. The list goes on. As long as it's USA-made stuff, even some of the smaller batch vendors, and most of the tactical gear companies that are US-based, most of them are small businesses, and they're veteran-owned, whereas a lot of the Condor stuff is imported, and it's really not of great quality. I know some people here, and even the preparedness community, will tell you that Condor is just fine, and occasionally they do put something out that's pretty decent, but if you're looking at stuff for really heavy-duty professional use on a long-term basis, I've seen the buckles break, I've seen the zippers break. Spend your money wisely, get good gear, buy once, cry once type situation. Gentlemen, how's it going? Hey, Constitutional Carpenter, Rusty, what's going on, guys? So, as I said with the gear, there's plenty of multicam stuff floating around right now in the market, and there's plenty of British equipment floating around, and there's really no reason to not get good quality stuff while you can get it. The other thing to look into, especially if you're in an area of Europe where perhaps there's already a shortage of surplus, specifically body armor. We've seen that a lot of countries have not been releasing body armor over the last 5 years or so. Apparently, they've been kind of clued in that something significant might end up happening, and sure enough, it did. So what you could do, and it's very AR-500 plate steel is legal in Europe, so you could always get together with some of your buddies, take some measurements, and get a template and cut some plates out, and then just spray some bed liner. It's not the most ideal thing, but to simply sit back and wait for stuff to be issued to you in an extreme situation is definitely not a great plan. Oh, nice. Nice. Doing some roofing while listening. Right on. But that all being said, you keep this in mind that your government, regardless of the severity of the situation, is likely not going to tell you how severe it is until even hours, potentially after an invasion, because they're going to begin to implement their business continuity and their government continuity plans, and they're leaving you out of that. We've even seen that here in the United States with some of the summer of love type things we've had over the past few years, where their priorities were to protect government buildings first. They didn't care about the business districts. They didn't care about your neighborhood. That was not the priority. The priority was the police department. The priority was the city capitol building and things like that, and general infrastructure. The other thing I would tell you to jump into, if you have the means to do it, and to not wait on this, because there will be a shortage. And I know a couple of you, I think even in the chat here, likely have night vision. I think at least one of you commented. I know someone did recently. I posted a meme about night vision, and the importance of that can't be understated. I know that in Europe, you're going to be generally restricted to maybe a Gen 2, which is not ideal. However, if that's all you can get, that's what you should get. However, if you're here in the United States, Generation 3 night vision is going to be your friend. That's going to be the only option for you, because anything beneath that truly is not great. And I'm sorry for those of you who are stuck with the Gen 2 option, but it's really not very good. I may do some more video on that stuff. I might be able to get some stuff in from ATN and go from there as far as some product reviews and just trying to figure out what the best bang for the buck is as far as that type of stuff is concerned. However, the time to buy that and the window of opportunity to buy that is likely going to be very short in the immediate future. So do keep that in mind. As government orders go in, this stuff is likely to become restricted as the civilian purchasing gets pushed back and then maybe even just canceled altogether. They might just say, look, we're inundated with government orders right now. There's no way we can fill this. And they'll likely even go to some of those smaller night vision outfitters and buy up as much as they can with everything that's going on right now. And don't underestimate the proliferation of night vision, even amongst the civilian population in the United States, let alone the Russian military. And we see plenty of Rhino mounts floating around and night vision mounts on guys' helmets, both Ukrainian and Russian, rolling around right now. So another thing that I want to hit on too, and in the footage that I've been watching of Ukraine with some of these embedded reporters, I'll be making a video on realistic combat distances in modern warfare. And even based on recent accounts, I might even bring a combat veteran on to elaborate further on this topic. But the combat distances we're seeing in Ukraine are a lot further away than most people would expect. You're looking at some stuff that could be pushing 200-300 yards in a city. So don't underestimate that. And it's not all going to be flat range stuff either. There are going to be guys in elevated positions. And a lot of conflict footage reminds me a lot of the stuff we were seeing out of the former Yugoslavia, for sure. Same type of equipment, weapons, sniper tactics, all of that is very, very similar. The really only big difference between that and now is, of course, now we're seeing the use of a lot of anti-tank weapons that simply just didn't exist at that time frame. The other thing I'm going to harp on, and I'm feeling a little crummy today, but I still went to the gym, and I'm going to go back later once my stomach settles. Just feel like complete garbage. But you really have to take your fitness seriously. There are a number of different fitness plans that you can implement. There's plenty of stuff here on YouTube you can put into practice. And really the key to this is consistency, is finding a good plan and sticking with that plan for a period of time and then beginning to change things up once you feel your body has adapted to that. There's no real perfect method for increasing your fitness. It's just mostly staying consistent. If you stay consistent, you will make marginal, reasonable improvements over a period of time. Don't go in there expecting that you're going to make 10 years worth of progress in 3 months. That's just not realistic. But you have to stick with it, because otherwise you're not going to be able to carry it very far if you can't move very far. The other thing I wanted to hit on today, and of course, the stable connection problem. All right, looks like I'm back and still having some connectivity issues. Unbelievable. All right. So financial security. Gold and silver. I wanted to talk about the gold back briefly today. And we're going to keep this video kind of short as I have some other things I need to work on. Specifically stuff for this channel. But the gold back is a very interesting concept. There's currently 3 states that recognize the gold back as official legal currency. And it's minted by a private mint. And each denomination of gold back contains a different amount of gold. And its value is still tied to the dollar. So maybe one gold back, depending on the day, might be worth somewhere between $3 and $4, depending on the price of gold. And there are a number of businesses in Utah, even big box retailers, that will take the gold back in lieu of the US dollar. I think it's a pretty interesting concept. It's a voluntary currency. I would like to see more states adopt this. And I expect that we'll see more and more businesses open to taking this as recognition of this becomes more widespread, as the economic situation continues to deteriorate, as people lose faith in the value of the dollar. And from some reports I've seen, not just the producers of the gold back, but if you do some digging, they have about a 50% acceptance rate if you are speaking with the decision maker who owns or runs that business, that they will take the gold back instead of the US dollar, which is a really again, really interesting idea. And it's a really clever way to carry around fractional gold on your person. Now, the other thing to hit on too, I wanted to hit on let's see, let's pull it up because I know the pricing right now is kind of all over the place. The American Eagles, the Silver Eagles, they're selling for a lot more than they should, and they have been for quite some time. And one of the reasons now, talking to a coin shop, is that they're also now having to pay more for them on the back end. So they don't really make much sense to have for stacking purposes anymore. And if you go around into the silver stacking circles here on YouTube, there are a lot of guys who are very, very into it. And they can certainly tell you a lot more. And I would like to bring someone on who can speak more on that. I would likely even meet with an owner of one of the local coin shops, and we'll sit down and talk about some financial security things that you can jump into and some better ways to diversify your portfolio to insulate yourself and your buying power. Now, we've spoken on this before, and I think we're all well aware that you're not going to get dollar for dollar value on this stuff during a crisis event. If you walk into a store with a 1 ounce silver coin, that might be your groceries, right? Or maybe less. Maybe you need several 1 ounce silver coins to buy the food that you need, but you can realistically only stack so much. We're all limited by space. We're all limited by money, but having some precious metals on hand, especially in the form of jewelry, which is incredibly portable, is a really good option. There's plenty of historic examples of people breaking off links of necklaces and other pieces on their person and then using that to obtain the goods or services that they need. And will certainly open a lot of doors for you that will be closed to you if you simply try to carry in a 5-gallon bucket filled with rice to get somebody to do work on your car. They're probably not going to want that. They may, but they're probably not going to be as interested as if you walked in there, it's a major repair and you got half an gold. And they look at that and they're like, all right, well, I can get the parts and don't worry about it. It'll all be taken care of. So just some food for thought on that. Reviews of budget options would be great. In terms of night vision, Rusty, yeah, really the only budget night vision that I would recommend would be the Invis M107. And the internals are essentially identical to the PVS-14 Generation 3 night vision used by the U.S. military, but the exterior case is a little different. And it was designed for use in Air Force survival kits. Those were the most budget-friendly option, but you don't see too many of those in the wild. When they were available, they were around the $1,000 to $1,100 mark approximately. Right now, under $1,500 to maybe $1,300. You can definitely get some Blim PVS-14s. There are groups on Facebook who cater to airsoft players and other communities that you could jump into and take a look. There's guys on there who specialize in building night vision optics from parts they source from different places. So you don't have to even go straight through the manufacturer for this stuff anymore. And a lot of these guys have plenty of feedback. So just do your due diligence if you choose to go that direction. But that's probably the most budget-friendly option for night vision would be to go find one of those groups on Facebook who specialize in that. So if you don't have a Facebook, I mean, there may be some other forums or places where to find these people. And I know that a lot of those guys also have business pages on that Facebook. So there's likely emails or phone numbers you can contact them through. So that would be worth looking into if you're looking to make that jump. The other thing too, mentioning jewelry as part of that preparedness plan for metal stacking, you're going to insulate yourself a lot more from the potential of a recall of gold coinage. I've seen some speculation, some people suggesting possibly silver might be affected by that at some point. I don't fully agree with that because of how popular these silver coins are. And I mentioned the silver, which means that you're paying about $40 per U.S. sovereign silver eagle, which is ridiculous. There was a time where they were under $20, which was fairly reasonable for what they were. But the U.S. has stopped making silver coinage completely. They can't right now. They did make a series of what they call the emergency production coins for the year, and you can still get more of these coins right now, even at your local coin shop. They likely have them on hand It's just they don't make sense to buy because there's so many more dollars over the spot price of silver right now. Silver is going for probably $25 and change right now. That seems to be about the average over the last several weeks and months. So anything beyond that, it doesn't make sense for stacking. Yeah, silver bars are absolutely a much better option in constitutional carpenter versus stacking some of the sovereigns. The best value sovereigns that I've seen have been the Austrian Philharmonics. They're not very over spot. They might be $4 to $6 over spot in most places, which if you're looking for sovereigns, generally I prefer to stick to sovereigns. The ones that I've kind of started jumping into in bulk, but was kind of murky on the whole time were the silver pandas. I don't think I'm going to buy any more of those. I suspect most of them are real, but there has been this watery market where a lot of fake ones have made it out. So if you're not buying directly from very credible sources, don't jump into the silver pandas. Those right now are also extremely overpriced, and anything after 2015 is not even truly 1 ounce of silver. They actually went to a metric system, so it's slightly reduced. So you're paying even more for a coin that you're not sure is real, and the weight is less than it should be because it's on a metric system. So not very much worth the time or money. How's my connection holding up, by the way? It looks like on my end the picture's a little skippy, which is nuts because I just bought a very expensive router. All right, guys, other than that, like I said, I wanted to keep today kind of short, just rattle off a few things, mention a few things I'm working on just to keep you guys updated that I am still active. It's just been a hot minute. I've got a number of things I'm working on behind the scenes. Not too bad. Yeah, I would like to get that. Hey, Van City, I would like to get that resolved because I do have a pretty big guest coming on the channel. It's tentative for the 29th. Technically, he's the largest channel on YouTube that talks about preparedness, but he's not a preparedness channel. And Van City, I'd actually like to have you on my channel at some point too. But yeah, pretty excited for that. So that was one of the reasons I jumped into the router because he's not a small channel. He's one of the OG YouTubers too. He goes back to 2007, and I'm pretty hyped to have him on. Yeah, I'll watch the playback to see how the feed was. I'm hoping that it held out okay. Yeah, definitely. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. Thank you all for tuning in for these couple moments. Listen to me ramble, and I hope the connection, like I said, is definitely improved. And good. I'm glad that at least the voice end of things is holding out. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in.